Hope woke up and looked at the clock and started to get ready for work. Today was Friday and the director was doing the traditional summarizing of the week's work. So there was no reason to be late. Otherwise you could lose your bonus. Though she wasn't afraid of that. She went into the kitchen, as her husband was asleep in his room and hadn't woken up yet. She wanted to wake up her son, but remembered that yesterday was the last school day of the year, and now summer vacation had begun. I thought to myself, what will he do here? Even though he's 14, he's an adult. As long as he didn't get into anything. Anyway, William's going to have to deal with it. It's his own fault. It was a bit wrong of her, too, but she might have understood. They'd had a week of urgent, hard labor before, and she'd been late at work all week. She wasn't the only one, the whole office was late. But they'd gotten a pretty sweet contract. The director, for their dedicated work, set up tables and organized a party for those who worked, at the expense of the company. They partied late into the night. Hope arrived home at the second hour of the morning. She crept quietly into the bedroom and fell on the bed. She didn't have the strength to undress. In the morning, instead of explaining everything to her husband and apologizing, she lashed out at him. Although she realized that she could have called him from the office and warned him that she was delayed due to the banquet. As a result, the marriage was fractured. Just like her friend Zoe's marriage. But it was worse than that. When she woke up in the morning and thought her husband's accusations were unfounded, she threw an iron at him. Unfortunately, the iron hit the target. Now she was waiting to see what her husband would do to her next when he got out of the hospital. One thing was certain, she would not apologize to him. After all, she had done nothing to give him any real cause for jealousy. Although he did ask, "Well, what was that yesterday?" Zoe explained to everyone that she didn't like the tone in which he said it, so she threw an iron at him. And it hit. Unlike her, Hope didn't throw anything at her husband, just called him possessive and, to provoke a scandal, said, "Why? Can't you go to your lover?" William did not scandalize. Hope did not realize at that moment that for such speeches she could have been hit in the eye. But William silently collected his things from their bedroom and moved them to another room. The most unpleasant part of it all was that her son heard her statement about her lover. A crack had appeared in the family, in her relationship with her husband. Today, as she left for work, she wrote a note that she left on the kitchen table. "I'll be late tonight. I'll be at Zoe's, she's in trouble. You can check on her anytime." Zoe was in trouble. Her husband was being discharged from the hospital. And there was a lot of heat. He never told his wife he was being discharged. He wouldn't take a message from her. He didn't want to see her. One day, Zoe came into his room, but Nicholas suddenly wanted to go to the toilet. Apologizing, he went in there and sat there until she left. Zoe set Hope to the task. "Hope, no asking him to forgive me. He needs to be indoctrinated that I am a grown, independent woman. Our marriage must be based on trust and love. He needs to trust me, and there should be no sweeping accusations against me on his part. I'll apologize for throwing the iron at him. Okay, when can we go to your place?" "Toward the end of the day. If it's okay with your husband. I speak ultimatum to him, too. Simply put, he believes me or he doesn't." Hope didn't realize that, after she left the apartment, William had appeared in the kitchen. He quickly warmed up breakfast. At that time, the son woke up. He came into the kitchen and asked, "Dad, is nothing changing?" "No, nothing is changing. Now we are going to load into the car what we need and take it to the village to grandmother." "And then?" "And then we go to the sea, like I promised you." "What have you decided with Mom?" "She doesn't respect me, so she doesn't want a family and me." "I don't know what you should do. You can live with her when we get home, or you can live with me. Whatever you decide for yourself is what will happen." William and Victor had a quick breakfast, took the things they had prepared, carried them outside. There they loaded it into their car, which was parked in the parking lot. An hour later they arrived at the village where William's mother lived. She knew of their arrival and the further route. She immediately seated her son and grandson at the table, put a plate of pancakes in front of them and poured sour cream separately. And in another hour William and Victor were on their way to the city, to the station, in a minibus cab. At 6 o'clock in the evening they had a train leaving for the Black Sea coast. Hope and Zoe arrived home as they had planned. The door was locked, and Zoe opened it with her key. From the hallway they went into the hall. But there was no one there. Zoe looked into the bedroom, came out of it and complained. Nicholas didn't seem to be home. She dialed the number of the ward where Nicholas was lying and asked, "Tell me, how is the patient from room 21, named Nicholas, feeling?" "I don't know. Probably fine." "Well, probably good or good?" "I don't know. He was discharged yesterday and, as far as I know, he went home at 10 o'clock this morning, just after his rounds." "You're not getting anything mixed up, are you? What should I be confused about? Is this the patient?" "Yes, it's the patient whose wife ironed him. Named Nicholas." Zoe ended the conversation confused and asked Hope, who had heard everything, "What do we do now? Where did he spend the night? Is he trying to get back at me? To get the full picture, he should throw an iron at you." "No, you can't throw irons at me." "Why not? Don't you get it? It hurts." They sat there until 8 o'clock in the evening, and Hope decided, "Well, I'm gonna go make my man happy. I'll come home early." She packed up and left quickly. She took the shuttle bus. As she approached her driveway, she noticed that there was no car in the parking lot and no lights in the windows. She went up to her landing, rang the doorbell, but no one opened it. She took out her keys, opened the apartment and entered. The rooms were dark. I looked into my son's room, but no one was there. Without taking off her shoes, she went into the room occupied by her husband. No one was there either. I checked my husband's and son's things at a glance and saw that a lot of things were missing. I realized, they left home. Why? What stopped them? Then she remembered that the apartment had belonged to her before the marriage, so her husband had no claim to it. She also remembered how she had once jokingly said, "This apartment is mine. I got it from my parents." The husband replied, "I'll sleep in the car in case of emergency. Because the car is mine. I bought it before marriage." She doesn't remember why, but they laughed a lot. Now she didn't want to laugh. She dialed Zoe's number and she answered, "Hello. What's up?" "Same as you. William and his son have disappeared." "Have you called them?" "Not yet." "Why not?" "I'm afraid they won't answer." "What? Is it that serious? Like me?" "Yeah, I don't know where I can find them either. You can find your Nicholas at work, but William doesn't stay in one place. He's not connected to any business." "So he's a hack?" "No, William is a sole proprietor. So he's free to decide what he wants to do with his time. And frankly, I don't even know what he's been doing, and especially not lately." "And the son?" "So he's on summer vacation. I think they might have gone to his parents' house. So call his parents. Maybe they'll tell you something." "What would I tell them?" "Don't say anything. Put William on the phone." "I will." Hope dialed her mother-in-law's number, and she answered. "Hope, I'm listening." "Did something happen? I want to talk to William." "He's not here. He left with his son." "Where did they go?" "Vic's on break, and you promised to take him to the sea." "So William took him. When will they be back?" "He didn't say. He mentioned he'd return when they got tired of the sea." "What should I tell him if he calls?" "That I want to talk to him." "About a divorce?" "Why a divorce? William said you've taken a lover, someone you spend your evenings with. And recently, you came home at 2 in the morning and claimed you'd been with this lover. That's why he left with your son. Besides, Vic overheard everything you said." "Mom, I said something foolish." "Daughter, a word isn't a sparrow. Once it flies out, you can't catch it." "What should I do?" "I don't know. You young people are hard to understand. But you shouldn't treat William that way. You know how stubborn he is." "I understand. Would you mind if I came by sometimes?" "I'll call ahead. Maybe you need some medicine or something from the store." "Come anytime. We're always home. As for medicine, ours grows in the field and in the forest." Meanwhile, Zoe was creating a plan to find her husband. She took an old-school notebook, miraculously preserved, and began writing. Her main focus was on familiar women. Not all of them, though, just the ones who had any kind of place where they could take her husband in. She considered the fact that her husband, while in the hospital, could have picked up some cute nurse or orderly. She'd been to the ward and had seen how attractive and slender they were. And she regarded Nicholas as a weak-willed man, thinking only of his job. She also had to work hard to focus on his workplace. She recalled everything her husband had told her about his colleagues, especially the women. She knew some of them, had seen them at work parties, and figured he could have had a fling with one of his coworkers. Eventually, exhausted, she called Hope and asked, "So, how are things on your end? Did you find your family?" "I found them." "Where?" "If I believe my mother-in-law, they went on vacation." "And if you don't believe her?" "They're still on vacation." William promised Vic he'd take him to the sea over summer break. You're lucky. Your husband is weighed down, and no one would run off with him. I wouldn't be so sure about that. And you, what are you up to? I made a plan. I'm about to start on it. Look at you, working in the planning department has made you a bit unhinged. Did you try calling him? No. Then call first, and then plan. Continued in the next video. If you like the story, please subscribe and like.